When people talk about the golden era of hip-hop and R&B, the early 2000s always come to mind. It was a time when Murder Inc. records dominated the industry, producing some of the most memorable hits of that decade. At the heart of it all was Irv Gotti, a music producer and record executive who wasn't just making beats. He was making power moves. His ability to craft hit records and shape the careers of major artists made him a force to be reckoned with. However, despite his undeniable talent and influence, his legacy is far from spotless. Over time, his name became less associated with musical genius and more with controversy, personal vendettas, and inappropriate behavior, particularly regarding his relationship with Ashanti. Now that news of his passing has surfaced, the reactions from fans and industry figures are mixed. Some mourn the loss of a man who played a pivotal role in shaping hip-hop and R&B, while others find it difficult to separate his artistic achievements from his personal actions. The story of Irv Gotti isn't just about the rise and fall of a record executive. It's a tale of power dynamics, manipulation, and the toxic influence that unchecked authority can have on young artists. His legacy is a cautionary tale, one that reflects the darker side of the music industry, where personal and professional lines are often blurred beyond recognition. At the height of Murder Inc.'s success, Irv Gotti had built an empire. He was the mastermind behind the careers of Ja Rule, Ashanti, and Vita, among others. The label was a hit-making machine, and for a while it seemed untouchable. Irv was the man behind the curtain, pulling the strings and ensuring that Murder Inc. remained on top. But as is often the case with figures who wield too much power, he started to believe that his control extended beyond just the music. His obsession with Ashanti in particular became the subject of widespread speculation and controversy, turning what could have been a professional mentorship into something far more sinister. Ashanti was one of the brightest stars of Murder Inc. She was young, talented, and had the kind of voice that could turn any song into a hit. But as her career soared, so did Irv Gotti's need to exert control over her. This wasn't just about record deals or creative direction, it was about dominance, both professionally and personally. He wanted to have a say in her career, her finances, and even her personal relationships. He saw himself not just as her producer, but as someone who had ownership over her success. When Ashanti started asserting her independence, Irv didn't take it well. His reaction was not that of a supportive mentor, but rather that of a man who felt entitled to her loyalty, her time, and even her personal choices. The most unsettling aspect of Irv Gotti's fixation on Ashanti was how publicly he spoke about it, even years after she had distanced herself from him. It wasn't enough for him to have played a role in her early career. He wanted the world to know that, in his mind, she owed everything to him. In interviews, he would frequently bring her up, often in inappropriate ways, as if he couldn't let go of the fact that she had moved on. His words weren't just nostalgic, they were possessive, obsessive, and at times deeply unsettling. Now, with his passing, some people are expecting Ashanti to express sympathy or to look back at their history with kindness. But why should she? She was only 20 years old when she met Irv Gotti. He was almost a decade older, married, and in complete control of her career. What she went through wasn't just an unfortunate work situation. It was a textbook case of power imbalance, manipulation, and exploitation. And while some may argue that Irv Gotti's musical contributions should be the focus of his legacy, it's impossible to ignore the damage he did in his pursuit of control over someone who never asked for it. With his death, the question remains, how will history remember Irv Gotti? As a visionary who shaped the sound of the early 2000s? Or as a man whose ego, entitlement, and toxic behavior ultimately overshadowed his success? One thing is certain. His story is a reminder that power in the wrong hands can become dangerous, and that true talent should never come with the price of control and manipulation. The story of Irv Gotti and Ashanti is not just a tale of a music producer and his artist. It is a textbook case of power, control, and manipulation disguised as mentorship. When Ashanti entered the music industry, she was young, ambitious, and exceptionally talented. She had the kind of voice that could turn any song into a hit and the charisma to become a superstar. But she also had something else, a record label boss who saw her as more than just an artist. From the moment Ashanti became part of Murder Inc., Irv Gotti's obsession with her started to take shape, and over time it became clear that he wasn't just invested in her career, he was trying to own it. At first, everything seemed like a dream. Irv Gotti gave Ashanti hit records, exposure, and the opportunity to work with some of the biggest names in the industry. Songs like Foolish, Always on Time, and Rock With You, oh baby, became instant classics, and her voice was everywhere. To the outside world, it looked like a perfect partnership, a young artist and a seasoned producer working together to create magic. But behind the scenes, Irv Gotti's involvement in her life wasn't just about business. He was controlling, possessive, and, as many would later realize, completely obsessed with her. Ashanti has spoken about how Irv Gotti wanted complete control over her finances, telling her where to invest her money and even suggesting that she put her earnings into a business that had nothing to do with her. According to her, he wanted her to invest in a company named after him, and when she questioned why her name wasn't included, he had no real answer. It was clear that he wasn't just trying to guide her, he was trying to dictate her future. This was a man who wasn't satisfied with just being her producer. He wanted to have a say in every aspect of her life. And when she started pushing back, things took a dark turn. One of the most disturbing things about Irv Gotti's obsession with Ashanti is how he continued to talk about her, even years after their professional relationship ended. Every time he had the chance to be in front of a camera, he brought her up. Whether it was a casual interview or a documentary about his career, he always found a way to make the conversation about Ashanti, painting himself as a victim and making it seem like she had wronged him in some way. His version of events made it seem like they had been in a deep, meaningful relationship, but Ashanti's account tells a very different story. According to her, whatever happened between them was never a full-blown relationship. It was a situation where he had the power, and she had to navigate it carefully. Perhaps the most telling moment of Irv Gotti's obsession was when he revealed, proudly and unprompted, that he was still wearing a watch Ashanti had given him 20 years ago. In an interview, he showed off the watch, reciting the inscription she had engraved on it. "You changed lives forever. Love, Ashanti." The fact that he still held onto a small piece of their past and brought it up publicly showed just how deep his attachment ran. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was an unwillingness to let go. He wanted the world to know that Ashanti had been a part of his life, and in his mind, he had the right to remind her of that, over and over again. Irv Gotti's obsession wasn't just personal, it also affected Ashanti's career in a major way. When she started dating Nelly, Irv was furious. He felt betrayed, as if Ashanti owed him loyalty beyond the professional realm. According to her, he started making it difficult for her to work. He wouldn't allow certain collaborations, he blocked opportunities, and he even refused to clear music that she had worked on. It was as if he was saying, "If I can't have you, I will make sure you struggle." This level of manipulation wasn't just about heartbreak, it was about control. He wanted her to feel like she needed him, like she couldn't survive in the industry without his approval. But Ashanti was stronger than that. In a documentary about Murder, Inc., Irv Gotti went so far as to dedicate a significant portion of the film to talking about Ashanti, how she betrayed him, how she moved on without him, and how he felt wronged. He didn't just speak about their past. He spoke about her in a way that was inappropriate and downright disturbing. He even detailed their first kiss, talking about how he grabbed her as if it was something to be proud of. This wasn't the behavior of a man reflecting on a past relationship. It was the behavior of someone who still, after all these years, couldn't accept the fact that she had moved on. With Irv Gotti's passing, the industry has been split into two groups, those mourning his loss and those who can't forget the damage he did. While some artists, executives, and fans remember him as a pioneer who helped shape early 2000s hip-hop and R&B, others recall his toxic behavior, his obsession with Ashanti, and his manipulative ways. 50 Cent, never one to hold back, made a cold but unsurprising remark, expressing no sympathy. Many people found it harsh, but others felt that Irv had burned too many bridges to expect kindness in death. The biggest hypocrisy, however, is how people suddenly want Ashanti to praise him, as if years of torment should be erased just because he's gone. But Ashanti isn't playing that game. She's not shedding tears for a man who made her life difficult. The industry can pretend to mourn him, but the truth is, even before his passing, most people had already distanced themselves from him. His obsession with the past had left him isolated, and his legacy, while musically impactful, is stained with bitterness, control, and ego. Now that Irv is gone, a major question remains. What does this mean for Ashanti and the work he held hostage? Will she finally regain control of her masters? Will she be able to tell her story without his interference? Fans are hoping that with him out of the picture, she will finally get the freedom he tried to take from her. Beyond Ashanti, this situation is a harsh reminder of how the industry treats women, especially when they stand up for themselves. Irv's actions were not just about one toxic relationship. They were about power and control in an industry that allows men like him to thrive. His downfall, and now his passing, should serve as a lesson that no amount of success gives someone the right to abuse their influence. Ashanti, despite everything, has won. She's still standing, still thriving, and still creating music. And now, she can finally close the chapter on Irv Gotti's hold over her life.